Hey everybody, Eric Hayden here on YouTube, doing a little weeding in the garden today. If you watch some of our prior videos, we did put down a pre-emergent back in late February and then again in March. And for the most part, as we showed you in a prior video, it's done its job. It's prevented the bulk of the weeds from coming up. The one issue we've had is nutsedge. It's a weed that's pretty tough. Even when you put Roundup on it, it will die eventually, but it takes a couple of applications of even pure Roundup to get rid of it. So that's one thing we'll start to work on in the garden today. The point of this video is to talk a little bit about an opportune time to weed. So that's the nutsedge I'm talking about. If you look at the majority of the garden, not a lot in terms of weeds. So for the most part, the pre-emergent did its job and things are looking quite good. One of the points of this video is to talk about weeding. Nobody likes to do it, but if you're going to do it when it has recently rained. We've had a couple rains pretty much every day in a row for the last 5 days. So with any type of weed, you want to try to get the whole weed up, including the roots if you can. So with this type of grassy weed, you don't want to pull on the top because it'll break off and you won't get the roots up. So you want to reach as low down in the weed as possible, right near the ground, and give it a good yank. And since our ground is moist, as I shake this mulch off, I'm getting the weeds up themselves. If you break one off, you don't get the roots up, it's okay, but it could possibly come back and grow again. So you really want to try to get those roots up as much as possible. And again, if you have a good mulch layer, if you have had recent rains, it's a little easier. I'm just lightly pulling this up and you can see I got all the roots up. And the key again is to do it as low on the weed as possible. I'll try to do an example here. If you yank on the top part, it breaks off and you don't get the weed itself. So reach as low as possible near the ground, give it a nice pull. And you'll see each time, every time it doesn't work, that time I didn't get the roots up. But by and large, if you reach low and pull slowly, and if the ground has recently been moist from rain, or if you have watered, you're gonna get those roots up. And that's definitely a good thing. These types of weeds I do not put in the compost pile. Nutsedge is very hard to get rid of, so the last thing I want is more seeds generating in my compost pile, because that certainly is something that would be hard to get rid of if you're continually putting it back in your garden. I do have a little bit of help today. My youngest son, Matthew, I'm paying him the big bucks. What is it? $1 every 10 minutes, right, Matthew? Yeah. So he gets $1 every 10 minutes. My other two kids get it as well, and they like to weed. For the most part. I think they like the money part. And Matthew's got a couple tools that he's using right now. Can you talk about, you got gloves on, how does that help you? And what else do you have?
Good. And I got a bench, and if I want to switch to a shovel, I have a shovel right there.
So you got the shovel if you need that. That garden bench is quite helpful. You can sit down and you're not bending over. And he's got those good gardening gloves. Those are, I think it's sheepskin or lambskin that we use those. He's not near the roses per se, but they do protect you from the thorns. And I appreciate you helping Matthew with all these beds that we have in the garden. I try to get the kids involved when I can. You'll get a chuckle, but usually a couple dollars here and there will get them out in the garden a little bit more than not. So that's it for today. With that pre-emergent, we're not having to do a ton of weeding. You can see most of the beds are clear. Where the drip irrigation is, the weeds are a little bit more prevalent. Again, it's all nutsedge. I don't see any other type of weed in the garden. The label for Snapshot, what we use as the pre-emergent, did not have nutsedge listed. So I'm not shocked that we're having an issue with nutsedge. I'll last leave you with some tremendous growth. This is Veteran's Honor. It had a little trouble coming out of the winter, but you can see all these low breaks of new canes and basils, and then this one's huge. It's probably hard to see on the video itself, but really, really thick cane emanating from down near the bud union. Not the bud union itself, but low breaks are certainly a good sign for growth down the road. All right, hope everybody is doing well in the garden. Again, it's been rainy. Get out in the garden if you can and do a little weeding. I know it's not the biggest chore that folks like to do, but if you wait for that soil to dry out, it becomes much harder. If you haven't had that rain and you're watching this video, just give your garden a good soaking. You'll be amazed how much easier it is to weed once you you know, have a moist ground, and it's easier to yank those weeds up and especially get those roots up. As always, I appreciate you following our page. Continue to appreciate the support, and as always, comment below. Thank you.